Hello world, and we are back. My name's Fischl, and this is going to be episode 66 of my poker vlog. You know, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays, all that jazz. Just because it's that time of year doesn't change the fact that we're just going to be a degenerate and play poker. And we have a decent amount of hands to go over from my last 2-5 no limit session at Orange City Racing and Card Club, so we're going to get right into some hands. First interesting hand. The hijack raises to $15. The cutoff calls, and I'm on the button with pocket jacks. Not going to just call this jacks in position, so we're going to 3-bet this to $50. And both other players call as well. So we're going 3 ways to a flop.
3 players.
Of 10, 9, 7, 2 clubs. So preparing a decent sized C-bet because I happen to still have an overpair. Before I get a chance to, the cutoff donk leads into me for $85. Kind of unexpected.
I was not expecting that. But I was expecting not to expect something, so it doesn't count.
However, this particular opponent has done this a few times when they just happen to flop top pair. I've seen it at least 2 times. So I don't even give this opponent credit for like a made straight or a strong 2 pair. This is 1 pair at best.
Confidence. A fool's substitute for intelligence.
So we're just going to call this one. Well, the hijack calls as well, which I'm actually more concerned about. That opponent could have a 2 pair or a flush draw, so looking for a safe turn card. Turn is the 3 of hearts. Pretty much the safest brick I could hope for. This time both opponents check to me, and I'm going to size up pretty big here, hoping to take the pot down right now because my overpair should still be the best hand.
The time for talking is over. It's time to push buttons.
I bet $265. Well, the hijack calls, and then the cutoff, who donk led on the flop, thinks for a bit of time before calling as well, hoping for an extremely safe river card.
All right, guys, here we go. 3 players.
And we get it. It is the 4 of diamonds. And extremely, extremely safe run out. The hijack checks, and the cutoff, who was the flop donk leader, they jam all in. Kind of a decision to make. Like I said, I've seen the donk lead with top pair from this particular opponent a few times, and I double blocked the straight, so I'm not too worried about exactly jack 8. I don't really see a reason why you'd slow down if you took the betting lead and turned a brick. I think you would continue, so I don't really give them too much credit for a straight. A 2 pair might do this some of the times, 10-9 or 10-7, but also there's just so many missed bluffs out there that my opponent could also have. They could have ace-9 or ace-8 of clubs. They could have 10-8 or 9-8 and do theoretically the same thing, just turn their straight blocker into a bluff. Additionally, I only have about $400 to call off with, and the pot is massive, so I think my overpair is good enough to call. So I call. The hijack folds. And my opponent had king 8 offsuit. Definitely not the easiest call in the world, but yep, so my opponent was just turning a straight blocker to a bluff, but just too strong and the pot was too big for me to fold here.
Don't give her a jack one time. She gets everything.
Yeah, dash blockers. 18 queen.
So on this particular day, Orange City was doing a crazy promotion where every hour a specific quads could win $1,000, and it rolled over. When I left, they were on quad 7s for $6,000, but in the hour where quad 4s wins $3K, you know, pocket 4s is pretty much the nuts. But additionally, king 4 feels pretty good.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
So with 3 limps to me, I limp in late position before the big blind raises to 40. There's 1 caller, and now I can play in position with a 4, suited king. Oh well, we're playing it.
3 players.
Well, the flop is 4-7-4, 2 hearts. Pretty amazing when you're 1-4 away from $3,000 and you happen to have trips. Well, the big blind bets 50. The middle position player in the hand decides to call. I really can't just call when I have trips. Like, there's plenty of heart draws I need to protect against, as well as maybe 5-6. So we're gonna raise this one up. We make it 180, and the big blind decides to call, which I'm not happy about, and then the middle position opponent decides to fold. The turn is the 6 of hearts, and this time the big blind checks to me. Now my thinking is quite negative because hearts got there, as well as based on this promotion, I think it's more than possible my opponent could have ace-4, just also be trying to win this promotion. So I don't even give my trips as much value as they should have normally. On this terrible turn card, I do a pretty standard check back.
Sure.
The river is the 5 of clubs. So there's a 4-liner, 3 hearts. That run out was pretty horrible, but luckily it goes check, check, and I can just show down my hand. And I was against pocket queens with a queen of hearts, so the promotion definitely made an interesting dynamic, especially when it got to like 5K for 6s. Honestly, this is one of the best hot chocolates I've ever had. Next interesting hand. An early position player raises to $15. There's 3 callers, and I'm on the cutoff with pocket aces. Gonna size up here, as we do not want to take this multi-way. We want to thin the field as much as possible. So we raise to $85. A late position player calls, and a early position player calls as well. 3-way's not the best scenario with aces, but it's still aces and it's a big pot. The flop is 8-5-4, 2 clubs. A flop I'm not too worried about with aces. If you happen to have 2 pair or for some reason 6-7, you're gonna get the money. So never slowing down. When it's check to me, we bet 130, and both players call again. So can't get anyone to fold anything in this game.
We got another touchdown. Godwin, another one.
When the turn is the queen of hearts, also not particularly a bad card. Queen 8 is the only 2 pair that really got there. And you should never really have pocket queens here. I think we get it in on the flop. So with that in mind, I'm going to go for maximum protection against clubs. Especially the fact that ace queen of clubs or ace 4 of clubs is just going to pay this off and be drawing semi-thin anyway. I just go for the overbet all in. The late position player folds, and the early position player who was relatively short stacked, he decides to call.
I'll tell you what. There's a rough idea.
When the river is a 9, the opponent claims that they missed their clubs, and we take down a decent sized pot.
You won! You did it! You did it!
Right now, please take a moment and hit the subscribe button. It would help me out a great deal, and I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Next hand of note. With 3 limps to me, I'm in the big blind with Queen Jack off suit. We're gonna raise this one. We'll take 2 Broadway cards multi-way. I make it $25, and as you'd expect, all 3 limpers call. So we're going 4 ways to a flop, where we flop absolutely gin. Unfortunately, because we have all of the queens and most of the jacks locked up,
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
we can't really bet this right now and expect anyone to call, because what else could anyone have? So we check, hoping someone can catch up or take a stab at it, and it checks all the way through. When the turn is the 4 of clubs, I'm hoping someone could have picked up a club draw or think their jack is good and bet for me. So I check again, and unfortunately it checks through again. When the river's the 8 of hearts, although the clubs missed, I think it's possible someone might have exactly pocket 8s or 9-10. So we're gonna size up here, and we bet $80, almost a full pot size bet. We do happen to get looked up by 9-10. So checking both streets and giving my opponent the opportunity to get there with their hand likely made me more money than just betting on the flop.
It was above average.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Not all the money in the pot.
I think he is down. I think.
The next hand of note. It folds to me on the button, and I have Queen 8 of clubs. I raised to $15. Happy to just pick up the blinds, but if I call, I'll play a suited queen in position. Well, both blinds call, so we're going 3 ways to a flop, which comes queen, deuce, 6, 2 spades. Now, strangely enough, the big blind leads out for $35. Kind of odd. Maybe he thinks that this board favors him, as he could have all the deuce 6s and 3, 4 of spades, 4, 5 of spades, things like that. But with top pair, I'm not going to fold to just one bet. The turn is the ace of diamonds. Not great, as it is an overcard, but it does slow my opponent down too, so he checks. I think this is a pretty easy check back, as, you know, now it's possible my opponent could even have like queen jack, queen 10, just outkick me a little bit. Hopefully check down the river. The river is the 8 of spades. Kind of interesting card. The obvious flush draw got there, but it gives me 2 pair. My opponent bets relatively small. He bets 60. I think about this for a while. I'm thinking that it's possible my opponent could just be going for thin value with a queen and even an ace. Ace 4 offsuit, ace of spades. I think he could also do this exact line. Check when he finally makes a hand for pot control and go for thin value on the river. I level myself into making a call, but my opponent obviously just has a flush in.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
I'm just a calling station, so a final hand of note. There's 2 limps to the cutoff, who raises to $25. The button calls, and I'm in the big blind with pocket 10s. Not really a hand I can 3-bet out of the big blind, out of position, and we've also seen on this table making it $80 to $85 gets less than 0 respect, so there's really no reason to 3-bet. So I make the call, and one of the limpers calls as well. So we are going 4 ways to a flop.
4 players.
That's what they spread up in Maryland. They don't do anyone too.
Which comes 8-6-4 rainbow. It's an okay board for 10s. 10s are an overpair, but with so many callers and people playing literally any 2 cards here, there's plenty of 2-pair combinations and pair plus straight draws that could be out there. But I play in flow. I check to the pre-flop aggressor, who bets $25. The button calls, and I call as well, still having an overpair. When the turn was the 7 of hearts, definitely coordinates the board a little bit more. There's any 5 as a straight, and plenty of 2-pair combinations got there as well. It checks to the pre-flop aggressor, who checks, but now the button takes up the betting lead. The button bets $50. Still with an overpair, gut shot to the straight. It's a very small bet, and I feel like my 9 is live, and even a 4 can likely counterfeit several 2-pair combinations that my opponent may have. So I think this is another pretty standard calling spot. The cutoff pre-flop aggressor folds. The river is the queen of hearts. Pretty bad card, all things considered. Hearts got there, and it's an overcard. Definitely not what I was looking for. I check to the button, who bets $50 again. I mean, it's just such a small bet. Like, I'm kind of interested. Again, I think my opponent could have like 8-9 where they have top pair and block to the straight, as well as the fact that this is an opponent who I've played many hours with, has a tendency of misvaluing their hands. So we have to call it and see what he's playing here. I call, and I'm absolutely shocked to see pocket queens. Yeah, definitely not what I was expecting. Not expecting to win all that often, but not expecting to look at pocket queens. Before we can call off all the profit that we worked hard to build, we rack up and leave shortly after that. Only there for 6 hours. Into the game for $800. Out of the game for $1,541. That's a profit of $741. There for 6 hours equates to $123 an hour, or 24 big blinds an hour. If you watched all the way to this point, thank you. I appreciate it. My next video will probably be from the Bonita Springs card room. We'll see if I can get some live footage there or not. Regardless, there will be more next week.